Hello and welcome back, future scientists. I'm Mr. K with Mississippi Public Broadcasting. We're going to continue our unit today talking about ecology. Specifically, we're talking about something known as co-evolutionary relationships. So let's go ahead and get the ball rolling on this. So these co-evolutionary relationships, a lot of this comes down to animal and animal interactions, and I wanted to discuss a couple of those with y'all today. So animals interact in a variety of ways to survive. Some very well-known interactions are predator-prey, cooperation, competition, and mimicry. And these are going to be the different types of interactions that we're talking about today. So let's go ahead and get started with predator-prey. This is probably something that you are familiar with. So in a predator-prey relationship, what's going on here is that predation is an interaction where one organism, the predator, kills and eats another organism, which is known as the prey. Predation behaviors varies from organism to organism. Many predators, especially carnivores, have evolved distinct hunting strategies. Different forms of these hunting strategies include pursuit predation, ambush predation, and opportunistic predation. So I wanted to talk about those real quick. So in a pursuit predation, to pursue means to chase. And so imagine like a cheetah running in the savannah and chasing down an antelope. That really comes down to speed and agility. It is a chase. And so that would be an example of a pursuit predation, when you're hunting something down by chasing it. Another example is ambush predation. A really good example of these are known as trapdoor spiders. They're actually a type of tarantula. What happens is they build these secret trapdoors, and when an organism gets close enough to it and the spider can feel the vibrations, it'll open the trapdoor up, pounce on the prey, and bring it into its hideout where it can't get away. So that's an ambush predation, where it's not hunting, going out of its way to hunt down organisms. It's waiting until something gets close enough to it. And spiders tend to hunt this way even with their webs. That's kind of an ambush predation. And then the last one is opportunistic predation. A really good example of this are grizzly bears. Grizzly bears are omnivores, so they can live off of berries and other plants. But if they're walking around the forest and they see a river that has a bunch of salmon jumping out of it, they'll go over there and start to fish and try to get the salmon as well. So opportunistic is you're not really looking for it, but if it presents itself, you'll go ahead and take the win, right? And so that's how grizzly bears hunt. Okay, most carnivores are specialized for hunting. They may have heightened senses, sharp claws, sharp teeth. They might be very, very strong and very, very fast. Another thing that I wanted to talk about for this is you can usually tell which one is the predator and which one is the prey by looking at the eyes. What you'll notice is that the predators often have eyes in the front of its head, and that really helps with the depth perception. So think of bears, tigers, wolves. They all have eyes that are on the front of their head. If you compare that to the eyes of prey, they usually have eyes on the side of their head. So think of cattle, zebra, antelope. They don't have eyes on the front of their head, they have them to the side. And the reason for that is you have to think about how they eat their food. So think of a cow, it leans down, it's eating the grass right in front of it, and it's just, it's looking straight down. If its eyes were on the front of its head, all it would see is the ground. But because the eyes are on the side of its head, it can kind of still stay aware of what's happening, and it helps it avoid, hopefully, anything that's hunting it. So predator and prey usually take on special characteristics that help them do their job, right? Other adaptations include stealth, endurance, intelligence, and social behavior. And a lot of these down on the bottom, stealth, endurance, intelligence, social behavior, a lot of that describes how early humans would hunt. So humans, we kind of got to the top of the food chain, but it was not in the typical way. Humans were very successful hunters because we used tools and we hunted in a group. We are also an endurance hunter. So what we would do is we would usually just chase the food down until it couldn't run anymore, and then we would kill it. Humans are some of the best endurance runners out there compared to most other animals. We're not very fast, but we can run for a very, very long time. And using our intelligence to make tools and social behavior to hunt in a group, we were able to take down prey that was much bigger than ourselves. Okay, so that's one type of relationship. Another one is called cooperation. In cooperation, what's happening here? This takes place when a group of organisms work together for a collective benefit. Many organisms, such as apes, fish, birds, and insects, exhibit cooperation behavior. What will happen is they will often teach and help and work together to solve problems. Many animals work together to complete a task that would be impossible by itself. And so an example that summarizes the predator-prey and cooperation together really well are wolves. Wolves are pack hunters. They hunt in packs. Wolves hunt game that is much larger than themselves, often too big for a single wolf to kill alone. But a group of wolves can attack, chase, and kill very large animals. And so this is a typical, this probably happens every day. These wolves, they are pack hunters. They don't hunt by themselves. What they do is they form a group, and they will usually find a prey that's much larger than themselves. This buffalo would be able to get away or kill a single wolf, but because wolves are pack hunters, they can work together and take down prey that are much larger than themselves. And so that's a really good example of that behavior that helps them hunt, and it's often in the form of cooperation. That's what makes wolves really, really great hunters. When you compare them to things like the big cats and the bears, wolves are not as fast and they're not as strong as some of those organisms. Their real strength comes from working as a team. Because they can work as a team better than most other organisms, they can hunt prey that are much larger than themselves. Okay? So another form of this co-evolutionary relationship is something known as competition. This is happening all of the time. Competition is a rivalry where two or more parties strive for a common goal which cannot be shared. This means that when one gains, the other one loses. Competition occurs in nature between living organisms which coexist in the same environment. Animals compete over water supplies, food, mates, other biological resources like habitats. Competition within, between, and among species is one of the most important forces in biology, especially in the field of ecology. Competition between members of a species for resources such as food, water, territory, and sunlight may result in an increase in the frequency of a variation of the species best suited for survival and reproduction until its fixation within a population. A really good example of this, I've mentioned this before, are male peacocks. Male peacocks are the very bright and colorful ones with that beautiful plumage. Although that beautiful plumage and the large feathers don't help them in terms of getting away from predators or finding food, what it does help them do is find a mate. The male peacocks with the most beautiful feathers and the brightest plumage are often the ones that get to reproduce, and so because they are the ones that are most likely to reproduce, they leave those genes for the next generation until we get to where we are today, where basically every male peacock is very bright and beautiful with the big feathers. Even though that's not helping them get away from being hunted, it does help them find a mate, and so that's why those characteristics are so pronounced in those populations. Okay? Great. Okay, the last one we're going to talk about is mimicry. Mimicry is kind of like camouflage, where you're trying to look like something else. Mimicry may evolve between different species or between individuals of the same species. Animals may use mimicry to hide from predators. So think of something like a stick bug, where those bugs look just like a stick, and if you were just walking around the woods, you probably wouldn't even see it because it's camouflaged so well. So that's using mimicry to hide from a predator. But animals may also use mimicry to look more dangerous than they really are, and I wanted to show you a couple of examples of those. So first of all, this is a very famous example. On the right over there, we have something known as a coral snake, and on the left, we have something known as a king snake. One of these is very, very venomous and would kill you if it bit you. The other one is not venomous. And so the one on the right, the coral snake, is the one that's really, really dangerous. There's a little saying that helps you remember this, and I want to see if I can remember it right. So it goes something like, if red touches yellow, you're a dead fellow. If red touches black, you're okay, Jack. So if red touches yellow, look at the one on the right. The red color on the snake is touching the yellow color on the snake, you're a dead fellow. This is a coral snake. This one's very venomous, and if it bit you, it could kill you. The one on the left is not venomous, and the saying for that one is, if red touches black, you're okay, Jack. So if the one on the left bit you, it would not kill you right away, but what's going on here is that the king snake is trying to look like the coral snake to fend off predators. If an animal that's hunting this snake sees that coloration, it might get confused and think it's the very venomous one, and so it wouldn't mess around with it. So this is using mimicry to fend off predators by looking more intimidating than you really are. And so yeah, this is the one that you want to stay away from, and this is the one that wouldn't really hurt you. Let me show you another form of mimicry, and it has to do with eyes. So look at the two pictures on the right over there. You'll see the butterfly and the caterpillar, especially the caterpillar in the bottom right corner. You see how the caterpillar in the bottom right corner, it has that big black dot? It kind of looks like the eye, but that is not an eye. But because it looks like an eye, it makes this caterpillar look bigger than it really is to something that's hunting it. If you see that big eye, you think that it is an organism that's much larger than this. And so you would be less likely to hunt this. Same thing with the butterfly over there. It kind of looks like a set of eyes, and that's to scare off anything that's hunting it. I wanted to talk about this big picture of the tiger as well. Tigers, they have black ears, and a lot of the time they'll have these little white dots on the back of their ears. And this makes their ears kind of look like eyeballs, because it's just that big circle right there in the blackness there. And so what happens is this makes it less likely, if something was hunting a tiger for some reason, if you saw this, and animals don't always have the best eyesight like humans do, if you saw this, you might get confused to think that you're really looking at the front of this tiger. And so that would make things less likely to attack it from behind. And so all of these are forms of mimicry. What we're trying to do here is we're trying to look like something that we're not. We're trying to look like something more dangerous than we really are. We're trying to look more intimidating. These look like bigger organisms than they really are. If you saw that, this kind of looks like an eye to an organism that's passing by it, and so you might not want to attack it. Same thing with the tiger. It almost looks like you're looking at the front of this, and so it would be hard to sneak up from behind, right? So these are all forms of mimicry, and those are all a few of those different examples of co-evolutionary relationship. So thank you so much for making it here today. Your teacher has some other work for you to do, so make sure to give that your best effort, and I hope everybody has a great day.